gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's July the 31st, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com. Joined once again, the band is back together, all refreshed from vacations and hiking and all kinds of crazy activities. I'm not even going to get into what Steven did on his vacation. But it's Matt Shodell, Stephen Wagner, and myself, and we welcome everybody back to a new season of Good Morning CaneSport. We'll call this the official start of season 3 of the show, since we did take off the month of July to give everybody a time to decompress. But now we are back at it. Today is Media Day at the U. Fall camp starts tomorrow. We will be producing Good Morning CaneSport 5 days a week for you guys, for your listening enjoyment as you crawl out of bed. I hope that means something significant to you. I was buying a car the other day, guys, and the sales guy says to me, "Go Canes, baby." I'm like, "How'd you know? Whatever that I'm a Canes guy or whatever." And he says, "I watch your show, Good Morning CaneSport. I love it." I said, "Oh wow, that's great. Are you a season ticket holder?" "No, they got to give me a reason to come back." Okay, and I think that is what this year is all about as we head into Media Day today. We head into fall camp tomorrow. Stephen, we spent a lot of time this weekend out at the U. You could feel the energy, I think, in the program. People are feeling very good about what has gone on in the past 8 months or so, not just from a recruiting standpoint. And they had a lot of elite prospects out on campus this past weekend. But there's a lot of buzz about the football team and how they feel that what they are going to be putting on the field this year is going to be markedly better than what they did last year. And it better be, because they went 5-7. So let's start there. Matt, a lot of excitement for Media Day coming up later today. We're going to talk to the coordinators. We're going to talk to many of the players on offense and defense. We will be pounding you guys with coverage all afternoon long at CaneSport.com. So make sure you're tuned in to the website. If you're not yet a subscriber, we have a special, okay? It's going to be 4 days, okay? It's not going to be like when we made the transition. I mean, we have to, pay the bills at some point. But we do have a special for these next 4 days. On an annual subscription, you're going to be able to get 25% off of that subscription if you are a new subscriber signing up in the next 4 days. If you aren't ready to make that 1-year commitment and you just want to try out CaneSport for a month, we'll give you the first month for $1, and then it'll convert to regular price. We hope you will stay with us for the absolute rest of your life, no matter what age group you are in right now, because the people you see here on your screen, we're not going anywhere. Even Steven, the young guy, we're not letting him leave. We will be with you guys for the rest of your lives here on Good Morning CaneSport and CaneSport.com, helping you better experience your passion for the Miami Hurricanes. So your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every single day. Make sure you get on over to CaneSport.com and sign up if you are not yet a subscriber. And if you like this channel and like this show, also hit your subscribe button, hit your like button, and it helps us with the algorithms at YouTube. Grow our audience. We want the whole Canes Nation on board this season to experience what is a planned revival of the U. Matt Shodell, is it reality?
Well, thanks for the lead-in. We will be here for the rest of your lives. I'm not going to be here for the rest of people's lives. Listen, if you're over the age of 80, I probably will be here for the rest of your life. I'm sorry to tell you that. But, no, I'm not going to be there don't tell the truth, Gary. Some 20-year-old watching this show, I'm not going to be here for the rest of their lives. 5 to 10 years. I'll
positive energy.
I'll give you that.
Maybe we discover the fountain of youth from this revival of Hurricanes football, which is the opposite of what we've experienced for the last 20 years, other than a brief brief little flirtation with winning in 2017.
Yeah. So, we all had our little vacations. They're all over now. Covering the Miami Hurricanes basically is a vacation for most of the year, the last 19 years, because by game 3, it's like, what's the point? There's nothing to cover. This year, I'm hoping it'll be a little different. We really won't know until the Texas A&M game. It just cracks me up. Mario did this last year also, which bothered me. He's doing it again this year. He ratchets up the expectations. You hear him talk. He's so eloquent. He's so great. But you never hear him say, this will be another rebuilding year. This is another step in the process.
He doesn't think like that, man.
He doesn't think like that.
He's excited.
He's excited. He was excited last year. We heard the same shtick last year. I don't know if you call it shtick. Whatever word you want to substitute. I use shtick. And, that's okay. I mean, that's what I guess coach talk is. But the problem is for fans, his coach talk is so good. It's like next level coach talk. How do I get on my screen? His next level coach talk. He uses big words like me and little words like Gary and Steven do. So he mixes, everybody can relate to the guy. But when you hear him talk, and when he was at the ACC Media Day, I don't even know if he's talking to us today, because all it said was assistant coaches. We get him for like 45 minutes. They didn't mention a Mario Cristobal.
Tomorrow after practice.
Yeah, after practice. Yeah, so I don't think we'll get him today. But whenever he talks, you'll never hear him say, we need another year or two. That's not what he says. And he probably doesn't believe it. So he probably believes it, and that's okay.
Look at what they've done, Matt. Look at what they've done in the last 9 months. You're talking about 25 new freshmen, scholarship players, and 16 transfers. They have brought in a half of a football team, basically.
They did the same thing last year. Let's be fair. I mean, that's okay. But listen, to me, it's still the same process. I don't expect them to win a championship this year. He talks like they're going to win a championship. He talks like they're going to compete with Clemson. He talks like, every position is so much deeper and everything is great. The new systems with the new coaches are going to be outstanding. Which it could be true. It might be true. I want to believe in the dream. But again, realistically, half of a bad team is back. Half of the new team, you took 14 transfers who aren't freshmen, but the other 25 guys that aren't returners are first-year players. 25 first-year players. Like, if you expect 25 first-year guys to get you an ACC championship and be at Clemson's level and Ohio State and Alabama and name that program, I mean, I'm just a realist. Like, I don't want to be this pie-in-the-sky guy. I've done this before. I've been right. I could be wrong this time. I hope I'm wrong. But it's okay to win 8 or 9 games this year. It's okay to say to fans, we have a vision. We've done it before. Instead we're writing these articles, well, Mario at FIU in year 2 increased by 5 wins. In Oregon in year 2, we increased by 3 wins, which automatically, gets you to 8 to 10 wins this year at least, which could be fair. 8 to 10 wins, I think, is fair, but 10 wins would be on the very, very high side for me personally, because again, half the team from a bad team is back. 25 guys are first-year players, and you bring in 14 transfers, of whom, 4 maybe would be considered free agents in my book, maybe 4. So listen, it's okay. I don't want fans to think I'm being negative. I'm being a realist. It's okay, because it's a process, and I do think 2024 they'll get to 10 wins, and 2025 they'll be in the playoffs, and that's okay if you're a Miami fan. You don't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour unless you have a Porsche, and right now Miami's not a Porsche. Listen, I don't know what the hell else to put it. Like, I don't want fans to be mad at me. You ask me, some carte blanche question. Like, that's just how I sort of view things. And yesterday I was in Asheville for the weekend with some friends. And, I wear my Lacoste shirts, which are clearly crocodiles. Anybody who knows about a snout of an animal knows the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. And these TSA guys, they're not supposed to talk to you, and you're not supposed to talk to them, right? The guy says to me, are you a Florida Gators fan? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, good, because if you were, I wasn't letting you get through. Like, this is a government agent, right? So, I didn't know how to respond. Like, we're not allowed to say stuff like that to them, but apparently they can say stuff like that to us. And I said to him, I actually responded. I said, you obviously don't know the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. And I guess I was lucky he didn't give me the full, pat down, cavity check, whatever, that I guess he could have hit the button. I don't know. Do they have a button over there where you get whisked away into some room and you come out like a damaged person who needs psychological treatment the rest of their lives, which I already do need that, but more
North Carolina that you were going through this level of scrutiny?
Yeah. He accused me of being a Florida Gators fan because I was wearing a Lacoste shirt that had a crocodile.
All right, well, I mean, getting back to what we're really supposed to be talking about here, not your silly little trip to Asheville, North Carolina.
Just fine.
I can't believe it, but I kind of agree with you. Like, I think that the bar being set at about 8 wins is right. I think that anything more than that is a great accomplishment. If you can get to 9, you go from 5 wins to 9 wins in a season. There is nobody that can deny you the fact that you've made significant progress as a program. And all these
let me, not to interrupt you because I never interrupt you, but let me interject. Cristobal has now made it that 8 wins seems like it'll be a bad season. 8 wins is a good season. It's just Mario, the way he talks, it makes it seem like that would be bad. That's not bad.
They will not walk on the field this year without a chance. That I'm not saying they're going to win all the. I mean, they're even when they play Clemson because they get them at home. It's not like they're not going to have a chance. This isn't the old Clemson from 5 years ago. Okay, it's a great Clemson team. They're the favorites, with Florida State to win the ACC. But you get them at home, and I don't think they will walk on the field this year without a chance. They have enough, as long as there's not an entirely ridiculous rash of injuries again. But they're not going to win every game. When they get into those tough games, you got to try to be in the game in the fourth quarter and try to see if you could sneak out a win or two. And that begins with Texas A&M in a little over a month. And that is just going to be a massive game. Texas A&M has made development as a football program. They're moving forward as well. They had a disappointing season last year. They have a lot of very good football players on that team. That will be a serious test for the Miami Hurricanes. And we will know, I believe, after that game, what we can be talking about moving forward. But as we sit here in August, I feel like they've fortified the roster enough to where that if they are not killed by injuries, they can walk on the field with a chance each Saturday during the season, or Friday or Thursday, depending on the week. And that's forward progress, because that was not the case last year. Stephen, you're not polluted by the past. This is going to be your first full season with CaneSport. So you bring like a little of a fresh perspective into this. Clear your throat, get ready to talk. We got to give you your fair time here. Your thoughts on just what you've been observing, not just in recruiting, but just the whole program in general as they try to bring it back to respectability.
Okay, so first off, I am never going to knock a coach for saying that a championship is the expectation, especially at a school like Miami that has 5 national championships, or at a school like USC or Texas or Oklahoma or Michigan, or any one of these really major powers that has gone through a bit of a drought at some point over the last 2 decades. Maybe not Oklahoma like some of those other programs, but each of those schools all had their issues. USC was pretty irrelevant for quite a while. Texas certainly dropped off really significantly in the last decade. Michigan, before Jim Harbaugh got there, they were having some pretty serious issues. Just being relevant even in the Big Ten. So I have no problem with Mario Cristobal saying, yeah, we expect to win championships here. And we believe in the talent that we've brought in. We don't care that we're young. We want to go ahead and win right away, because yeah, it is one thing for a fan who actually follows the team to be able to look at the program and say, okay, well, that's really not going to happen. I bet we probably end up winning 8 games, because just think about this from a PR standpoint. Do you really want the head coach at a program like Miami going up to the podium and saying, yeah, if we win 8 games, I'll be happy with that, but I don't think we'll be, great this year or anything like that. That's not what Miami fans want to hear. That's not what players want to hear. And so, yeah, I am totally okay with Mario Cristobal going up there and spewing whatever he's going to spew, because it's not just about building program hype and getting the fans to believe in you, which in and of itself is going to have some inherent benefits, like, more packed stadiums on game days, better atmosphere, better buzz around the program, better student engagement, which then itself can sort of just lean into this whole football culture and football philosophy and build buzz around the program that really does help. But it also gets the guys in the locker room to believe in you. whenever your head coach goes up there and says, yeah, we expect to win championships, all of a sudden, Ray Joseph, freshman out of Miami Edison High School, who just showed up here 6 months ago, he's saying, oh man, championships? All right, well, I guess that's the standard that we have here. I guess that's the bar that's being set, and that's what we're going to need to do everything that we can to perform to. Now, of course, quietly, I'm sure if you asked Mario Cristobal in private, he'd say, yeah, if we won 9 games this season, I would be very happy about the trajectory.
Oh, no, there's no chance he would say that. No chance.
You don't think so? Even in private?
Nope. No chance.
All right, Gary, you know better than I do, but
yeah, there's no chance he would say that.
Then I'll say everybody else, you're okay with winning 8 games, 9 games as a fan and being optimistic about the future. I mean, Clark Lee did this at Vanderbilt last year. I don't know if you guys paid attention to the 2022 SEC Media Days, but Clark Lee said, yeah, here at Vanderbilt, we expect to win championships. No one expects Vanderbilt to win championships. No one. But what it does is it builds confidence in the locker room. It makes your guys think, man, I believe in this locker room so much that we are capable of going out and winning championships. And so I will never have a problem with a coach at any program saying, yeah, championship is the expectation. That's what we expect to do here.
Well, coaches know, and we've been talking mostly about what Mario said at ACC Media Day last week. And coaches know that they have multiple audiences when they go to that forum. They're talking to media that are going to shape the narrative of their programs on a national level at that media, ACC Media Day. You're talking not just to your local media. The local media really doesn't have much of a reason to even go to Charlotte. You don't need to go to Charlotte to talk to Tyler Van Dyke and Mario, who you're going to be talking to a lot a couple days later. That is a forum to promote the program. And, I think Mario had that hat on when he was in Charlotte. But the other thing when coaches go into those vehicles is that they have other audiences as well. They have the parents of the players who listen to everything that the coach says because it's their life, it's their child who's playing football for the Miami Hurricanes. They're hanging on to every word. They're waking up with us every morning. They're on CaneSport.com, checking out the news every day. They are living every single breathing thing that happens with that team and every single word that comes out of the coach's mouth, not just the head coach, but the position coaches as well. So he's talking to the parents. He's talking to the families, the people that are around the players when they're not in the football headquarters. And he's also talking to the players who absolutely pay attention to what their coaches are saying in the media. Any player that says they don't is probably lying. They want to know what the guy that's their leader thinks about them and thinks about their team. So they're getting ready to open training camp tomorrow, and he wants a team to take the field tomorrow morning thinking that it can accomplish something that would shock the world this season. Is it reality? Maybe, maybe not. But there is not, in my opinion, a position on the field, except for possibly tight end, because I was a huge Will Mallory fan, and I think that you've lost his reliability. And, we don't know yet that Arroyo can hold up physically for a season. Cam McCormick, we haven't seen here yet. But there is not a position really on the field that you can't say that Miami has made itself better in the offseason. Cornerback, we got to see how these new guys do. But Tyreek Stevenson, he's tearing it up in NFL camps right now. He wasn't tearing it up here last year. He had a good year. Tyreek's our guy. We had an NIL deal with him. You saw his blog every single week at CaneSport. He is a markedly better player now in the NFL than he was at Miami. DJ Ivey had 2 interceptions in a practice the other day in training camp. So maybe cornerback, we got to see how these new guys shape up. But for the most part, the quarterbacks should be better. Ja'Cory Brown, I've been hearing great things about. just that he's continuing to progress. You're not going to run air it out passing offense if he has to go in the game. You're going to have to run a game plan tailored to what he does well. But there's a feeling that he's progressing and taking steps forward. Emory Williams is doing great for a true freshman. You got a lot more running backs now with A.J. Allen and Mark Fletcher coming in. Mark Fletcher is going to be getting a crash course in training camp here over the next month. They want him to be able to contribute significantly in year one as a Miami Hurricane. The receiver position has been fortified. The offensive line position totally overhauled with impact transfers like Matt Lee at center, who everybody in the program can't stop gushing about the impact that Matt Lee has made from a leadership standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint, the way he makes the calls at the line of scrimmage. They love Matt Lee. Javion Cohen, a guy that was good enough to start for Alabama, comes in. Big deal. You got the freshman 5-stars who don't be shocked if you see Samson Okinola rise up to be a starter very early in this season. He's been doing very well in the offseason workouts. You can go on and on and on, defensive line. High hopes for Joshua Horton, the true freshman. You're going to see him on the field this year for at least 10, 15 plays a game. He's 300 pounds now. They feel he can handle contributing and being in the rotation. They need Branson Dean to come through there. They need a linebacker or two to step up and be counted upon, and they need the secondary to be as good as people think that it is. But this is not a hopeless situation by any stretch. Like I said earlier, I'm maybe a little bit more bullish than Matt in that I do think that they will not, as long as they don't get killed by injury, because depth is still an issue, they will not walk on the field this fall without a chance. And that's probably the best that you can ask for right now. So coverage of Media Day all day today. We will be pounding you with that. We've already got a ton of stuff on the website this morning. You can check out our analysis of the depth charts and different elements of the team. We've wrapped up our State of the U series. You can go back and review that if you have been on vacation as well. There is a lot of pre-season, pre-camp coverage available to you at CaneSport.com. We encourage you, if you have not read it all over the last month or two, go ahead and catch up. A lot of good stuff in there that should get you ready and informed for the new season. But let me transition now, because over the weekend they had a recruit barbecue, and it was the biggest recruiting event of the year without question. You had pretty much every guy that's on the commit list came to the barbecue. You had a lot of 5-star prospects, elite players come to the barbecue. Stephen, you were in the fray out there in an action-packed day on the Miami campus. When you left after all those hours, what was your final impression of the recruit barbecue and the impact that might have been made on some of those kids?
Yeah, so I think as far as the 2024 commits go, it was exactly what you would expect. The 2024 commits, they were kind of running around in their own little group. You saw Judd Anderson and JoJo Trader and Chance Robinson and Kevin Riley and a bunch of the skill position guys, and even some of the offensive linemen, really Juan Manaya and Derek Claus, kind of running around in their own little group. They seem to really be enjoying themselves, having a good time in and of themselves. But really, this was a really big recruiting event for Miami to get their foot in the door with a lot of these 2025 kids. And whenever I say that, I'm really talking about 5-star edge Zayden Walker, who right now I believe is the number 6 overall prospect in the country. He's out of Georgia, but he's the number 6 overall recruit in the 2025 class. And then 5-star DJ Pickett, who's another safety in the 2025 class, whose recruitment has really picked up a lot of momentum here in this cycle. Both of them were on campus. We had the chance to talk to Zayden. Unfortunately, did not get the chance to talk to DJ before he snuck out of the visit. But I can tell you that with Zayden, at least. Miami has made a splash, and that's kind of what we're looking for with this recruiting barbecue. This is Miami's chance to make a first impression with most of these 2025 kids. There were also some 24 kids there that Miami's still trying to seal the deal with, namely Kamarian Franklin. He was probably the biggest name there, number 37 overall prospect in the On3 industry ranking. And then Xavier Mincy, the 4-star safety out of Mainland, was also in attendance. Right now, there's a recruiting battle going on between Miami, Florida State, Florida, and then Alabama is in that mix as well. We still aren't totally certain what direction that's going to go in. The recruiting prediction machine says he's favored to land at Florida at the moment. I personally could see him at any of those 4 schools. So I think that's, that's a really, really tight race. And, Miami really wanted to get him back on campus one more time before this August dead period hit, because Mincy said that right now he's looking at potentially committing either before the season starts or during the first or second week of the fall season. So Miami getting that last chance to make an impression before Mincy commits, I think that could definitely play a role as we head into the August dead period, which actually starts on August 1st. So technically Monday is still open to visits in case anyone wants to, make a last second push.
Over today.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But Kamarian Franklin, another guy that I just mentioned, right now it seems like it's kind of a recruiting battle between Miami and Tennessee. Auburn is also in that mix. He said he wants to visit all 3 programs for games this fall. He's also hoping to commit, he said, no later than September. So we could be seeing something from him sometime maybe over the next month or so. Right now, I think Miami's in a very good position with him. I'm actually pretty confident about the Canes' chances with Franklin. Maybe not as confident as some other prospects, but I do feel good about where things sit. But like I said, Tennessee and Auburn are still making their really big pushes, and he'd like to get to a couple of games this spring. So certainly some question marks there. But yeah, this was absolutely a massive recruiting weekend for Miami. It may not have been the most important recruiting weekend of the summer whenever you consider some of the talent that Miami brought in on these official visits. But it was definitely the biggest in terms of having the most talent in one place at one time. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of kids just rolling in one after the other. All of these guys Miami targets, all of these guys that Miami is really trying to either 1, lock down like Kamarian Franklin or Zay Mincy, or 2, get back to campus.
All right, so we have tons of coverage. If you missed it, on the recruiting barbecue, the reaction of all the players, and stories on some of the key prospects that were there this weekend. So make sure you catch up on that if you have not yet. I also wanted to touch base this morning on a story that I put out yesterday regarding NIL at Miami, and the problems that LifeWallet, the company, have been having are starting to become more and more in the public profile. The stock has gone from $10 where it was offered a year ago to 23 cents. They had a $900 million revenue target that only got to 24 million. Big difference. And that has brought a lot of focus to John Ruiz, who thus has had to scale back his NIL activities here in recent months. It's now coming to the forefront. So I thought it was a good time to do a story just on where Miami is on NIL, and did a lot of reporting on it. And here's a couple things that I could say. And the way that NIL has evolved, this was never going to be a one-man show forever to begin with. John Ruiz put 15 million into NIL in the last year and a half, 2 years. It jump-started NIL for Miami, which just wasn't organized and ready at a collective level like everybody else in the country. And that's why Miami got such a head start. No John Ruiz. I feel comfortable saying that there's no Final Four last year. And I feel comfortable saying that the football program, and we talked about how buoyant everybody is on campus right now with media day today and practice starting tomorrow. I don't think that's the case without John Ruiz. So, people have been asking me on the message boards, is CaneSport upset that it gave John Ruiz a platform, that we covered John Ruiz? There was a time where he was a sponsor of this show. And no, absolutely not. Like what John Ruiz did for the Miami Athletic Department, regardless of what happens with his business now moving forward, is going to go down in history potentially. I mean, he put Miami out ahead of everybody else in the country in NIL. And, he's going through tough times now. But the story that I wrote after reporting it, what I found was Miami wasn't blindsided by any of this. They knew that it couldn't remain a one-man operation forever, and that the collective was going to have to continuously gain steam. And a lot of effort has been going towards building up the financial resources of the collective over the last 6 months. And what I found was that Miami NIL right now is stronger than it's ever been, because there are a whole lineup of donors that have become engaged with the collective, some giving as little as $10 a month, others giving thousands a month, probably tens of thousands a month. But when put all together, they have the many millions that they need to execute NIL. They have contracts in place with 75 of the 85 football players that are on scholarship right now, and I assume they're working on the other 10. Every men's basketball player in the program has a contract with the Canes collection, with the exception of Nigel Pack, because he still has his contract with Life Wallet from last year that was a 2-year deal. So they're not double dipping. Right now they're trying to make sure everybody's taken care of. So Nigel Pack is still under his original Life Wallet deal. Now they're moving on to women's basketball. So the collective is alive and well, doing great. Recruits coming in the 24 recruiting class will most likely be negotiating their NIL deals with the Canes collection as opposed to John Ruiz. That's the only thing that has changed. Beyond that, it's business as usual. They have plenty of money. Opposing schools are going to try to use John Ruiz's financial issues to negative recruit against Miami. But they're going to find that it's not effective because Miami has more money now than it's ever had. And Miami will remain very competitive in the NIL world. The football program is marching forward recruiting, like Steve and I were just talking about. They had tons of 5-star prospects on campus. They're recruiting the top players in the country. Those guys are going to require very good NIL deals down the road. That tells you they've got the funding to execute that. So it'll be interesting to see how things could, evolve with John Ruiz and Life Wallet. But I was actually happy to report, and I thought it was important that we do so, that Miami NIL in general remains in a real solid place, and there will be no impact from Life Wallet's issues, whatever they end up being, on Miami NIL and ultimately recruiting going forward. Matt, any thoughts on that subject?
I was going to respond to Steven like half an hour ago and tell him he made some great points. If your definition of great is terrible, but I'll just sum it up by saying every coach is always going to say they're never going to lose a game. Mario's never said, Steven, they're going to win a championship. So I don't want to rehash that too much, but he never said to the ACC media, to anybody, we're going to win a championship this year. What he's saying, and where the misperception is, is where he's saying he's indicating the culture's been fixed. The personnel problems have been fixed. That's the problem, perception-wise, because we've seen this movie over and over. The fan base gets upset when the season doesn't live up to the preseason hype. The fan base gets upset. Negativity's out there, affects recruiting. Vicious cycle ensues. It's been every coach that's been here since 2003.
I don't know that I've seen the balloon burst quite the way it did last year.
Okay, but that's what I'm referring to. That is what I'm referring to. That's why, as a coach, I want to see something different where you're actually honest with fans instead of every preseason we're going to be great. Let's enough of that. I need something different. That's where I was coming from. Okay. Now, as far as the whole I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. But that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, I don't think he said the word great, though. I think he feels confident that they've made significant progress, and he's excited to get into training camp and mold this.
Yeah, I'm not going to rehash it. He uses
you got to sum it up.
He uses other adjectives besides great.
Now you're being inaccurate.
That you don't understand the meaning of. But yes, he says
you can't take a shot at Steven like that and be inaccurate yourself. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's my opinion. It's not a shot at Steven. It's my opinion.
Accurate. He never said.
My opinion was that
you're great.
All I said Steven had a great take. If your definition of great is terrible, so I gave Steven a compliment. So leave me alone. As far as NIL, Gary, I think you've gone to too many showings of the Barbie movie because, like, you're living in some sort of fantasy world. Like, if you think that everything's great with the Ruiz ship sinking because, the collective's here. The collective's everywhere. Miami has a collective that's doing well. That's fantastic. So it puts them on an even playing field with all the other.
Reality hit that John Ruiz was not going to do this himself forever. People have stepped up and they have funded the collective.
As they have at Florida, as they have at Alabama. It's an even playing field. Like, let me finish a sentence.
I agree with that.
With a Ruiz that was financially capable and the collective, Miami's above everyone. Now we're with everyone else, which is fine. If you're Gary Ferman, you want to be middle of the pack collective money-wise right now, you're probably middle of the pack collective money-wise now. So congratulations, Gary. The problem, which Gary doesn't seem to grasp, and this is just my personal take, is that there is a little bit of fallout from, the reporting by the Miami Herald that Ruiz is under investigation, and not just financial problems, but criminally, which Ruiz disputes, in fairness to him. Maybe this is all made up. Maybe the Herald just makes up things that they find out from asking for Freedom of Information Act. Maybe
it's a hit job.
Maybe the Freedom of Information Act should be rescinded because apparently the Miami Herald is using it incorrectly. So look, there's a bit of a national stink to this. There just is. He was the face of NIL. He was the face of Miami NIL. He was out there on Twitter like I don't want to say lunatic. I don't want to be sued by him. So he was out there as a wonderful person saying how he was doing these fantastic things for Miami student athletes very publicly. And like when that ship sinks as fast as it has, and I think one of the members of CaneSport, one of the writers for CaneSport actually saw this coming to some extent. I can't remember who it was, but it didn't take a rocket science to know this has happened before, to talk to people who know the guy and to say, listen, there are some red flags here. Maybe it'll work out great, and we all hoped it was going to work out great, and it appears it is not. But to just say everything's
you're wrong. It has worked out great. I just explained why. They went to the Final Four in basketball behind who? All the players that he signed.
Fantastic. Yeah, he did. Listen, there's no disputing that for
no
1
John
year.
Ruiz, no Francis Mayagoa, no Samson Okinola, no top 6 recruiting class.
And guess what? They got to right, and they got to keep paying these guys. No doubt about it. They're still going to be getting guys. Like, I'm not saying they're not getting 5 stars every year. They will. They just have to budget their money differently. They can't get 5 stars a year. They can get 2 or 3, which is fine.
You don't know that.
Right, correct. I don't know that.
You don't know the limitations.
When I say it that way,
recruiting every 5 star.
You finish the show.
You took a shot at Steven. You're taking shots at me. It's our first show of the new season, and I'm not letting you get away with that.
What I was trying to point out, I made up an example of 5 versus 2 or 3 because they're going to have less money. I'm not saying that's the number. I don't know the number. The 5 stars are going to get. They might get none.
5 stars they're going to
get 5. But my point is they're going to get less than they would have with a financially healthy Ruiz. That's all I'm trying to say, and that's a fact.
Not necessarily. My reporting that I spent a lot of time on yesterday told me that the collective has a very significant budget, and they feel they have enough money to do everything that they need to do in terms of functioning as the arm of the program.
Fantastic. So you're, just to make clear,
John Ruiz. Let me put it to you this way, Matt. John Ruiz is not the only guy in Miami with money.
Correct. So you're understanding, just to be clear, so I want to make sure I understand it. So without interrupting, let me finish one sentence. Your understanding is that they don't need John Ruiz's money at all this year. They have millions of dollars. They don't need that on top of anything. They'll get everyone they want. I'm done.
John Ruiz is one of the donors to the collective. As an individual. His deals in marketing last year were let him go. His deals in marketing last year were as Life Wallet. He has also made a personal contribution to the collective. So, and he's not the only guy in Miami with significant money that supports the University of Miami. They have done a great job at the Canes connection rather, of putting together a competitive collective. But the one good point that Matt does make is that other schools have done the same thing. And yes, the playing field is much more level now than it was a year ago when it was the John Ruiz show. But anyway, so that story's on the website. Make sure you check that out. I tried to give you guys a comprehensive look of where things are with NIL right now at Miami, because as I'll give Matt credit for this too. There is going to be some blowback from all the publicity that is being given to John Ruiz's struggles and Life Wallet. And there are going to be people out there who are going to try to use that against Miami in recruiting. And it's important that, quite frankly, the accurate information gets out there so that people aren't able to do that. Because the fact of the matter is, like I said, NIL at Miami is as strong as it's ever been. Every player is getting NIL deals. They're all getting paid every 2 weeks like they're supposed to. And the program is functioning the way that it is set up to function. And they feel like they have plenty of budget to go into next year and negotiate deals with the new recruiting class. So make sure you check that out as well. All right, we're going to get ready for Media Day today. Looking forward to it. And like I said, make sure you stay tuned to the website. There will be an enormous amount of coverage coming your way later today. So for the disappearing, thank goodness, Matt Shodell and Stephen Wagner, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us this morning. And remember, CaneSport.com, we got a special for the next 4 days. If you're not yet a subscriber, make sure you get on over to the website and get your subscription. Annual subscriptions, 25% off for the next 4 days for new subscribers. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.